What is a job order cost system? Every job you run as a contractor is a separate business. Are you running it that way? Job order costing, don't get confused. It's not necessarily an accounting term. It's basically a term to know, are you profitable or not? By the end of this video, you're going to know what job order cost systems are and how it gives every job its own financial fingerprint or identity, and so nothing gets lost in the pile. So last week, I just became a grandfather. I know you're like, there's no way. You look so young. Thank you. I appreciate that. I did. Became a grandfather. My wife and I became grandparents for the first time. And so we spent quite a bit of time in the hospital. I had my sweatshirt on that my daughter had given me called Beebs. Apparently that's going to be my name, but ultimately we'll see if the child decides that. And then my wife's, she's had her sweatshirt on. Lolly, that's her name. So Beebs and Lolly come marching into the hospital. First time we've ever been grandparents. Not first time we've been parents, but grandparents. And so we come in, we've got our sweatshirts on and we're going in. And I can't help but in my line of profession to be able to just look around and to see the system that I'm surrounded by in the hospital. And I noticed something in the hospital that's very relevant to job order cost systems, is that you got just a whole hospital filled with patients. And yet you got the same doctors, the same beds, the same nurses, the same rooms that just cycle over and over, even though the patients are cycling in and out. So you have some elements of the equations that are the same over and over and over again. And then you have some elements of the equation that are new every time the day gets started. So I want you to think about your jobs like patients. Your business is like the hospital, the doctors, the nurses, and everything else, but your jobs are like the patient that's laying in the bed. Every one of them is new, and every one of them gets their own chart. So when you think about job order cost systems, I want you to think about a patient chart per job. So if these are each one of your jobs up here, imagine each one of these is like a patient chart for the job. And ultimately, when you're in a hospital, they want to look at the chart and go, is this patient healthy or not? When you look at a job order cost system, or particularly a job cost sheet, each sheet is like a patient chart telling you, is this job healthy or not? How do we determine that? Well, we've got to be able to look at how job costing actually works. Now, in order to understand the identity of each job, I want to put an acronym up here that is actually very closely aligned with this acronym, COGS, or cost of goods sold. Every single one of you as a contractor should have that number, and you should have it on your profit and loss statement. Now, with that, there are 4 elements of every good job cost that we're looking at. So if I put a box over here that sort of represented one of these jobs, but I expanded it out a little bit, here's what we're looking at. Number 1 is the contract value of that job. So let's say the contract value is $1 million. And we come down here and we're going to put a line. Now, if you're building a luxury custom home, usually your cost of goods are somewhere between 78 and 82%. So let's put it up here. And your cost of goods are largely going to be made up of the slime of the job. Now, the I doesn't mean anything. We just put it in there so we can pronounce the word and turn it into an acronym. But the SLME is very important. Subcontractors, labor, material, and equipment. So every job is going to have some cocktail mix of those 4 elements. And sometimes they're a little confusing. Is it labor? Is it subcontractors? Honestly, most times I don't really care. What I care about is that you've got these down here, and more importantly, you know what they are. Because if you know what they are, then we can understand, once you have the contract value of that job and we take out our slime, this is what we're left with, is what we call our gross profit or gross margin. Essentially, this is what we run the business on. And so here's the challenge. Money does weird things with our head, kind of screws with us. It's a little bit more psychological than it is tactical. And so when we look at money and we hear a contract value and we go, hey, I just got a job for $1 million. Guess what everybody else hears? He just got $1 million. Is that what happens? No. Job costing can bring us back to sobriety and understanding how each job is healthy or not healthy. So let me give you another example. Let's say your slime was actually 99% of this. Does that feel healthy to you? Not at all. Because now we understand. But a lot of times in a contracting business, what happens is we spend. We hire the subs. We hire outside labor to be able to come in. We order the materials and don't really pay attention to rebates and sending them back and overages or any of those other things. We look at equipment and we just buy the equipment because we need the equipment. And the next thing we know, we're bumping up against that contract value. And in some cases, you actually spend more on the job than you took in on the contract value of the job. That's when things get really dangerous. The challenge is, most of you have a bank account down here, and in that bank account is money, and in your mind, you live under the myth that as long as there's money in the account, then I must be making money. That is a myth many times. So what helps us to bust that myth is understanding a job order cost system or a job costing system to some degree. So I want you to imagine, take this macro look. Now let's go job 1, $1 million. Job 2, $500,000. Job 3, $200,000, $2 million, $1 million, whatever those numbers are. And so if we come over here and start allotting contract values to each one of these, then we can start to understand what our slime is in each one. So if it's $1 million here, then we understand slime at this point, subs, labor, material, equipment, and we can understand the health. That's what we're looking for right there. Then we do the same over here. Let's say our cost of goods are a little bit less. Here's the nice thing about the slime that makes up your cost of goods is if you can reduce it and still get the same value out of it, that money goes straight to the bottom line many times because it's dollar for dollar is what you are. So if you take your cost of goods from 75% to 74%, that's a whole percentage point of the contract value that you retain, creating a healthier model for what you're doing. And so if we just boil job costing down super simple, contract value, subtract your slime, your subcontractors, those are the people that you hire. Let's say you're a GC, your roofer, your landscaper, all of those things. Your labor, these may be outside people that you hire that are not incorporated with your subcontractor, but they're people. Then your materials, so you need to get the 2x4s and the nails and everything else that goes through the vendors. And then your equipment. Sometimes you might own that equipment, sometimes other people might own it and you just rent it for the job. But each one of these comes with a cost code, and that cost code takes off from the contract value, and it either determines the fatness or the skinniness of your gross profit in that particular thing. So when we take this and go job by job by job, now we start to build a job order cost system, and the system is really important. Why? Your business should be a system. Your business should not live out of here. It needs to get out of your head. It's captive, these processes in your head, they need to get out. In fact, if you go click on the link in the description below, I've got a manifesto video that I've built. This is about a 30-minute masterclass that you really need to spend some time with. It's how to build a system for your construction business. So if you're a contractor owner, you really need to go through that class. I'm going to introduce you to the 4 Ps and the 4 cores, where the job costing sits. So you understand the placement of this and how to get it on repeat so you can begin with repetition, predictability, and meaning, and understand the financial health of every single job. Why? It's because when you don't, chaos ensues. And our entire mission is to liberate you from that chaos so that you can make time for the things that matter most.